Hello, I'm Dr. Heidi Hoke, and I'm here with you on Vibrational Perspectives. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. For those of you who have not been with us before, I'd like to briefly give an explanation of Vibrational Perspectives, and it's linked to Vitae Pondera Institute of Integrative Health. In Mineola, Texas, we have a beautiful 2-acre historical location that we've turned into a holistic health, just a beautiful place to practice. We have a practice, we have a college, and we have a nutraceuticals company also out of that property. It's also a historical property. And we also have a paranormal investigation events there as well, naturopathic, natural health events, metaphysical classes, just a wonderful cornucopia of different activities that involve natural health and spiritual development. We invite you to look on our many websites to see if there's anything of interest that to hone in on your specific interests. We have degree programs from certifications to doctorates in various subject matter. We even customize your online degree program for you. So anyway, take a look at that and explore it. There might be something in there that you'd like to enjoy. Tonight, I'm going to talk about a subject that not only has touched my own life, but also in the many clients that I've seen over the last 12 years. It's brought into focus a subject that we all need to hear. It's why some people do not heal, or why all of us at some time in our life do not seem to be able to heal. And first and foremost, I think it's important to know that we were created with imperfection. Irrelevant of what your creation beliefs are religiously or spiritually, however we were engineered, designed, and created, it was perfect. And we are designed to live 120 years old. After 90, we don't continue to age. Our aging process stops at 90, and then it's just a matter of time until that clock ticks out. But in lieu of that, there's many people who have gone through a time in their life where they don't heal either from trauma, emotionally, mentally, or physiologically. And it's very difficult for me as a naturopath to be able to make that distinction, because it's my belief that when we are injured physically, we suffer emotionally and psychologically. When we are injured psychologically, we are also injured physically. So as we go through this process tonight, I want you to know that you can equally apply these techniques of healing in a treatment-resistant situation, whether it's emotional, mental, psychological, spiritual, or physiological. It all will work, because the body is this wonderful, energetic being working with the universe and the vibrational frequencies of the universe. When I began Vibrational Perspectives, it was important to me that I offer a show or a time of discussion to be able to teach and bring together to our attention the very well orchestrated and designed interaction between our own energetic frequency and the frequencies around the earth, nature, our environment, others, and even the frequency of our spiritual encounters. So in vibrational perspectives, what we do, in case you haven't joined us before now, we explore how vibrational frequencies within us interact within the vibrational perspectives or frequencies all around. So that would include healing, both physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and intellectually. So with that being said, I want to go through some of the indicators that may be present when you're dealing or you're functioning at a low vibrational frequency. Now we're talking about vibrational frequencies between 0 and about 700. When we reach that perfection of spiritual development, we can look to about a 700 scale on that frequency level. Most of us will run between 400 and 500, which is not bad. I mean, that's going to reflect a very happy person. But it goes to show how we can keep developing into even a higher ascended consciousness. So when we're functioning at a low level, we can probably expect that we will be functioning at a level of 150 or below. And at 150 or below, we would be experiencing anger, fear, grief, apathy, guilt, and shame. These are the levels by which our immune system begins to be compromised, highly compromised. And these are the levels where we're going to see some symptoms of low frequency. Some of those symptoms will be chronic illness. Everybody's going to get a cold or a flu or whatever, of course. But even in acute illnesses like that, look what you were experiencing 2 weeks prior or a week prior. And I'll bet in every situation there's going to be some circumstances that stressed you out to compromise your immune system. But in the case of chronic illness, and I've experienced it alone also in my life, very, very severe chronic illness, you will have a continuous flowing of low frequencies. Chronic illnesses, of course, but if you begin to have accidents or injuries, all of this is discord and imbalance with the frequency that you are reflecting as you interact with the Earth's frequencies. And this is how accidents happen, falls, even losing things, illness, any of those things, illness, accidents, and injuries, big one. In the area of illnesses, if you experience head injuries or any conditions within your head carries a very significant frequency because of the electrical activity within the brain. So the brain is what is kind of the powerhouse of the electromagnetic energy of your whole body. So when you're compromised energetically, it's going to show in your head. It will show in everything from dandruff. It will show in poor eyesight, dizziness, insomnia, sore throats, ear infections, seizures. In my case, it was seizures, chronic seizures all the time. So you'll be able to assert migraines. Migraines is another big one. So So when you are experiencing head conditions, look at how you are interacting with your environment or other people or even within yourself, as far as frequency interactions. Anxiety is a big one. Anxiety is one of those kind of frequencies where you feel a buzz that is not quite right and you cannot put your finger on it. Anxiety is a very difficult one to handle because it's not specific. Many times people just feel anxious and they don't know why. It's a frequency. And later in the show, I'm going to tell you ways where you can address it. If you find yourself in a state of poverty or debt, or you're having financial issues that you didn't quite know how it happened, again, it's a discord in frequency. And the whole feeling of not feeling financially secure, that's a hardship, and it will fall under fear, and sometimes apathy, which would bring you down to a 50 or 100 in the scale. If you felt shameful over those issues, you're back down to a 20. Now, so remember, we're trying to stay at 250. So all of these kind of frequency changes can just cause stress on top of stress on top of stress. Many people get sick when they have financial problems when they get sick. It's back and forth. And with all of this, then we have the fourth one, which is dysfunctional relationships. When you find yourself in chronically dysfunctional relationships, there is something terribly, terribly imbalanced within the frequency by which you are interacting. And we pick up the frequencies of other people around us. So as we may be, edging ourselves up to a nice, healthy level, we can be in a room full of dysfunctional people, and our energy is sucked, because what are they trying to do? They're by just an issue of survival trying to bring their frequencies up too. And so it's just a constant cycle of feeding off of those vibrational frequencies. Healthy relationships indicate high vibrations, and unhealthy relationships across the board reflect low frequencies. If you feel that you're surrounded by this, the important thing to know is that no matter what your situation is, you have the ability to change it. That's how the vibrational frequencies can go up, is through the change that you make through your own decisions. So right now we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to go on into some other areas as to how we can change that. We're going to look at a little bit more about some symptomology as well. So come back and join us then in a few minutes. Thank you.
Vitae Pondera Institute of Integrative Health provides dual opportunities of private practice and accredited education through the University of Vitae Pondera College of Natural Medicine. Vitae Pondera, which means life balanced, promotes wellness through evidence-based philosophies of natural medicine. We offer licensed and board-certified services in private consultation and health solutions in all areas of disease through advanced nutrition, herbs and botanical sciences, homeopathy, energy medicine, sound therapy, and spiritual hygiene. Additionally, our accredited university offers both online classes and on-location clinical study towards certifications through advanced degrees. Our mission is to provide compassionate excellence in naturopathic and holistic health management while teaching in an environment that is creative, respectful, ethical, adaptive, and accountable. Give us a call today at 903-569-9913 or visit us at VitaePondera.com and VPCNM.org for personalized guidance in your health and life management goals.
Life Balanced Nutraceuticals. Through the continued research and development of Vitae Pondera Institute of Integrative Health, we provide commercially available Life Balanced Nutraceuticals, supporting wellness through evidence-based natural medicine. These proprietary blends provide novel proprietary combinations of USDA organic, herbal, mineral, and biological food supplements for your specific health needs. Our FDA-registered manufacturing facility is fully certified for good manufacturing practice and food safety. As food is medicine, our mission is to provide the highest quality food supplement available for your focused goals in self-care and health management. To order, please give us a call today at 903-569-9913 or visit us at vplbn.org.
Hello, we're back, and I'm Dr. Heidi Hoke, and we're talking about the frequencies of healing and why some people have a hard time going through a healing process, seemingly no matter what they do, how hard they try, healing becomes next to impossible, and it's very disheartening. And we want to talk a little bit about that as to some of the reasons why and what you can do about it. So in our last session, we talked a little bit about the symptoms. Basically, I want you to grasp how to be able to recognize this and how the frequencies are interactive. I'm not so concerned about the science right now. Right now, we're trying to get a scope on the fluctuations of our own frequencies as to how we interact with others and interact with nature and all of our environment around us. So there are a couple of basic principles of frequency that I'd like for you to understand. The first principle we want to go into is energetic balancing, and we talked a little bit about that, about how the frequency of how we function is interactive with that of the earth. But on a broader scale, we have to wonder how you can put two people in the same situation and each will react, they will survive the same situations very differently. And it's been said that I think, therefore I am. That was a quote by a famous philosopher. And that has been restated in many different words, different statements, but basically it is about perception. It's about how we perceive. So, and I don't know if you remember, if you're old enough to remember, back in the 60s there was a weekly series called The Sixth Sense, and it was about a guy who was very cutting edge and exploring the, at that time, pseudoscience of ESP. And we can kind of revert to that and see that extrasensory perception, actually, very simply put, is our perception based on the five senses that we experience. So if you are in a particular situation, the situation is not good or bad. The situation itself is neutral. What makes it good or bad is how each of our five senses experience it and how our sixth sense perceives it. That is perception, and that is a very individual thing, and it is the perception that will determine the frequency by which we experience our truth. Our perception is our own individual truth. It's not the truth of anyone else, because everyone else's perception is different than ours. So when we look at this, we have to understand how our energetic balancing is developed through our own extra sensory perception, the sixth sense, based on the five senses physiologically that we experience. It's interesting how I think so many people in history, without history, that had no sight or no hearing or were unable to have all the five senses, yet that sixth sense was not compromised. If anything, it became stronger because of the three or four that were left. So this didn't take away from the frequency by which that person experienced life. It just simply recalibrated it and rearranged it. So our ability to perceive and to experience is based not only on the five senses, but it's based on how those five senses and the sixth sense of perception then interacts with our brain chemistry. And so that's going to be another show. We'll do that on another time. But I wanted you to see that interaction between brain chemistry, perception, senses, and truth. So this is an important part of it. It lays down the groundwork of how we view and how we experience injury or illness. A principle that is extremely important is because our emotions are on a scale, a numerical scale that are comparative to each other. We want to approach that magic number of love. Now, love will fall at about 500. But that's where we're going to in a scale of comparison. So when we look at our perception of love, we cannot do so without being able to consider full forgiveness. And we've all heard that forgiveness of others is more for ourselves. And that's very, very true, because it's the forgiveness and our strife toward that ultimate place of love that actually empowers us, due to the fact that it is raising our own frequency level to a higher and higher and higher degree. It's important to be able to understand that life is going to be full of crisis. Again, crisis is going to be a perception. What is a crisis for one is not a crisis for another. But when you experience a situation such as illness, it is important to not see yourself as a victim of your illness. For 35 years, I I lived with a health history of numerous grand mal seizures per day, and very treatment-resistant epilepsy, Tourette syndrome, and bipolar. And due to the Tourette's, I was unable to speak. I had a very, very severe stuttering problem. And went through life functioning at a kind of a survival mode. I'd say at best, a survival mode. But when I was at my most ill, my lowest point, I was in an altered state most of the time because my seizures were coming so close together that it was difficult for me to get out of one before I got into another. And I was living in kind of a state of alternate consciousness. But what that did is it forced me to strip away everything that we think has value within ourselves and begin to get in touch with the fact that even though I was unable to work, walk, talk, interact, that my spirit still had value. That I, as a person, still was every bit as valuable based on the fact that I was encapsulating a divine spirit. We all are divine spirits. We all are divine souls. And that's the value of who we are. And I don't care how sick you are, how much you feel that you are inadequate. You are adequate just simply based on the fact that you are a divine soul. And when you begin to value your divine soul to the extent that your physiological state is irrelevant, you have reached your ultimate frequency. That is where your healing is. Your healing is understanding that you are not a victim ever of limitations of the body. Because limitations of the body will never sully or toxify your soul. It will never make your soul incomplete. And as I looked into myself, not being able to function, I began to be really aware of who I was beyond my body. And that is where I learned true self-love, true self-acceptance. And when you nail true love and true self-acceptance, you nail self-empowerment. And when you nail self-empowerment, you nail healing. I don't think I want to say any more about that. We're going to go to principle 3. Healing is can transcend time and space. This is another thing here. Healing is not dependent on time or circumstances. It is only dependent on your perception of what you are experiencing and your perception of your truth. And when I was in that state of unawareness, I was very aware. I'll say altered awareness. Time had no meaning to me. Space had no meaning. Because I was so deep within myself, I was able to go beyond the relevance of time and space. That's something that's very etheric, but it's something that you're going to have to just get comfortable with within your own mind. Because we're told that we have a limitation of time and space, and I'm telling you that that's irrelevant. We have an empowerment within our ability, our higher consciousness, to transcend that. And what transcends that is energy. I think we need one more commercial. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Thank you very much.
This system of fear has tried to make you forget what you know. And deep inside of you is the truth that has come through the ages. The greatest medical tool you have is your intuition, is your heart and your understanding.
Homeoprophylaxis is the use of diluted disease products to familiarize the system with the disease prior to encountering it in nature, so that when you do encounter it in nature, you can either mount an immune response or you can repel the disease completely.
I would absolutely recommend HP to other parents. I think that using a safe and effective way to protect your child is the best way to go, and vaccines are too risky. I would never encourage anybody to go that route versus HP when there's a safer, more effective way with zero side effects. Simple.
I really have seen many people agonize over this decision, and some of them have decided to vaccinate and some have decided to use homeoprophylaxis. What we find is an effectiveness of around the 90% mark.
So recently, a district collector in Kerala had given order to the government employees that you must take homeopathic prophylaxis. It was published in newspaper. Even health minister, even MLAs and ministers, even general public, they are also supporting homeoprophylaxis.
If you're not there and you're not ready for the information, it falls on deaf ears, and I think that's the biggest thing. You see a chiropractor and you're eating organic, you're ready to hear the information.
To use the snowball metaphor again, we're pushing it uphill, and it's a hard push right now, but we're getting close to the top. And at some point, we're going to push it over the top, and gravity is going to take over.
We all want to know when we're on the right path, going in the right direction. We turn to family or friends for advice, or we read and research to gather information, hoping we're on track. Passage to Real Immunity will hopefully provide you with some real stone cairns of your own.
Vitae Pondera Institute of Integrative Health provides dual opportunities of private practice and accredited education through the University of Vitae Pondera College of Natural Medicine. Vitae Pondera, which means life balanced, promotes wellness through evidence-based philosophies of natural medicine. We offer licensed and board-certified services in private consultation and health solutions in all areas of disease through advanced nutrition, herbs and botanical sciences, homeopathy, energy medicine, sound therapy, and spiritual hygiene. Additionally, our accredited university offers both online classes and on-location clinical study towards certifications through advanced degrees. Our mission is to provide compassionate excellence in naturopathic and holistic health management while teaching in an environment that is creative, respectful, ethical, adaptive, and accountable. Give us a call today at 903-569-9913 or visit us at vitapondera.com and vpcnm.org for personalized guidance in your health and life management goals.
Hello, I'm Dr. Heidi Hoke, and you're joining Vibrational Perspectives. Tonight we're talking about why people don't heal, or why we all go through situations that we feel healing process is a challenge, if not impossible. They've all, I'm sure we've all felt it, or we will at some time in our life, and it's, it's a hard one, but it's ever so frequent, so very frequent. I want to mention that before the commercial break, we were talking about how healing transcends time and space. And I wanted to go back and pull up the point that it is important to remember that when you are in a situation of healing, and you may feel that it's not happening. We've all heard the cliche, fake it till you make it. And I'm not suggesting that you be disillusioned or live in, well, I'll tell you what I am. I'm suggesting that when you affirm your healing, healing follows. You don't have to wait to see the healing happen to make the affirmation. The affirmation comes first, and the healing comes second. And when I was in my darkest moments, I remember saying to myself, I am in a process of healing, not I wish I could heal, but I am healing. And by that affirmation, you go back, remember when we said thought form, and form. I think, therefore I am. Healing happens when you think it first. You profess it first. After all, that's what faith is. Faith is the belief in that which cannot be proven. Your healing may not have been proven yet, but I promise the day you take it and claim it, you have it. And I want that's how healing transcends time and space. So we're going to go to principle 4. And this kind of ties in with what I just said. Illness can be present for many sacred purposes, including as a teacher or as an imbalance that needs to be rebalanced. It also can be a result of a stressful or toxic physical or emotional environment, at times combined with a certain weakness in genetics, attitude, lifestyle, or personality. It can also be used as a process to establish a higher level of spiritual consciousness. And I truly say, in a very pure sense, self-consciousness. We see self-consciousness, or we're understanding the words self-consciousness as being somewhat lacking in our ability for empowerment, but I don't believe that. I believe true empowerment is the consciousness of the divine self. And when you are able to link in an authentic, humble way of gratitude with your inner divine self, you have full empowerment. you have God empowerment. And that is a fundamental foundation of healing, of self-healing. Illness brings us to prayer. It brings us to meditation. It brings us to self-reflection. It really leads us to humility. It leads us to compassion. It leads us to love. It leads us to higher frequency of interaction. So, with that being said, how can illness or condition be a negative when it leads us to such a positive state of frequency? Again, it's perception. It's how you perceive your particular situation. And you have ultimate control over that. You have ultimate empowerment over that. My seizures brought me to a lot of prayer and a lot of meditation, because all I could do is lay in that bed and stare at the ceiling and pray and meditate between the next seizure. And every time in between those seizures, and this went on for years, every time between those seizures, I got a little bit closer to the frequency that it took for full healing. And even now, I have to maintain that. I have to form and put into practice a daily, minute-by-minute consciousness of self-care. And there's some times when I have to just put the phones away. Sometimes I think I subconsciously lose my phones for a good reason, because I just need a break. And that's okay. We must do those things for self-care. Principle 5. As we can be healed within a sacred space, so can that space experience the healing through us. Now that's a very interesting thought, I think. Because oftentimes we are made to believe that we are victims of our environment, and that our environment dictates our own frequency. That's one thought. So we've learned tonight that we can overcome that. We can move out of that. But did you ever think about how our frequency can become at such a high level that we affect the frequency of everything around us? One person in a room can make a difference in the collective frequency of everyone in that space. And when we come together, whether it's through technology or social networking or whatever, and we come together for a common purpose of good, a common time of meditation, or a common time of collective consciousness. At one time, we may have kind of rolled our eyes a little bit about that and smirked. But let's think about what that does. When many people come together at a conscious time of raising a vibration, they are supporting this concept of changing the frequency of the environment, whether it be war, disease, crime, whatever that low vibration is, we as a society can come together with the high vibration that we have been able to attain, and we can change the vibration of the world, the globe. I believe that. I believe that. But we have to be first aware that we have that power. We don't have power that we don't recognize. We don't have power that we don't acknowledge. We don't have power that we don't take or accept. Principle 6. This is a big one. It's a harsh one. We can become addicted to our illness and our wounds because it's a form of currency. It's a comfortable social addiction. It can be addiction that everyone around us supports, and we can feed off of it. We can feed off of it, whether it be consciously or unconsciously. We can easily not even be aware that we are doing this or that we've been caught up in this. But this is a scenario. You're ill. Let's say you're suffering from migraines, and truly you're in pain. Truly you are. But to embrace that condition to the point to where you alter your lifestyle, you give up joy, you give up interaction with others, you give up relationships, you give up the joy of being a parent or a friend or a confidant or a mate. You give that up because of the fact that one's identity has become so entrenched in that condition or that illness that it robs you of what you can be and what you are here to be and your potential to be of service to others and of service to yourself. An illness can become an identity. There was one time when I remember I did it. I remember saying to myself, well, I'm Heidi Hoke and I'm an epileptic. I'm Heidi Hoke and I have Tourette's. I'm Heidi Hoke and I am bipolar. I am Heidi Hoke and I stutter. I am Heidi Hoke and I am anorexic. My whole being was entrenched in disease. That was my identity. No. I'm Heidi Hoke and I am a divine soul. That's who I am. And so it comes down to a choice. Is your identity going to be attached to your strengths of divinity or your limitations of a physical body? And the good news is the attachment to your divinity is stronger and it overrides every limitation that you have or that you perceive. I want to tell one story that probably moved me more than any story I have ever experienced. My husband and I had the opportunity to go to Trinidad to visit a children's hospital of spinal it was a spinal reconstruction hospital, where the children there, for the most part, had suffered from quite a few, mostly birth defects, because the incidence of birth defects and severe scoliosis is very high in those second and third world countries. And I went to this hospital, and little kids running around everywhere, and none of them were what we would see as being normal. And every one of them had joy. And I remember this one little boy, he had no legs, and he had little stumps for arms. And he was laying on his stomach on a little gurney that was floor level. And he was batting around a soccer ball, playing soccer. And he was full of joy. He had no limitations. In his mind, he had no limitations. And truly, not only in his mind, believe me, that kid had no limitations. He was living his life to the fullest extent because he lived on a level that did not limit him by physical disability. He was living his divine bliss, the bliss of his divine soul. That, my dear, is healing. That is healing. And so when we look at the big picture, if we believe that we were created by a divine power, whether that be inwardly or outwardly, irrelevant of your religious or your spiritual belief, if we truly believe that there is a divine energy, an ultimate altruistic energy out there for which we were created, however, we must believe that we have no limitations. Certainly not the limitation of trauma, illness, financial problems, injury, accident. We all experience these circumstances of our physical body, but in no way does that limit us into our higher calling, nor does that excuse us of the accountability that we have to pursue that higher calling and to step up for the job that we are here and that we are meant to do. I feel like we've had a good session tonight, and I think it's time for us to close. And I want to invite you to our show next week. We're going to continuously be discussing the different ways that our vibrational frequencies interact in any different ways. Also, what I love, the vibrational frequencies of natural medicine. We have so many. We have vibrational medicine in general that has probably 20 or 30 different modalities. We have homeopathy, we have homeoprophylaxis. And I want to say that I want to give a little plug on the homeoprophylaxis real quick. We do have a coronavirus COVID option for that. We have an extended option if we're now hearing news about this affecting the heart in children and strokes, all of that. We have combined remedies within homeopathy and homeoprophylaxis to pull together to address all of those issues. And I will make the very bold statement because I believe it with all of my heart. There is not a single disease that cannot be healed because we have the empowerment within the universe and the environment and the earth and nature to be able to use that to its fullest advantage. I don't believe in a problem that cannot be solved. I just don't. It's just not, failure is not a part of my vocabulary. So I want you to know that when you are in a situation that you do feel that you need some direction toward healing, I want you to know that I'm here. I'm always here. Vitae Pondera Institute of Integrative Health. And we have 2 colleges, a College of Natural Health, if you're inclined to want to learn how to be a practitioner, and also College of Metaphysics for higher spiritual development. And we also have the commercial line of nutraceuticals as well. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. And thank you. Bye-bye.